be overturned if the US Congress passes a bill to oppose it. Well, we're joined now by the journalist and political commentator Beth Gardner. A very good afternoon to you, Beth. Thanks for joining us at this lunchtime on Sky News. Yeah. President Trump did say that he was going to put this executive order in place. So are you surprised that he's done it?
It's shocking, but I don't actually think it's surprising. I think that this policy really distills a number of very important things about the Trump presidency and about Trump himself. Number one, as you say, this is exactly what he promised to do. It's only been a week, and he's already doing, he's doing everything that he promised in that very ugly and angry campaign. And he's starting with the most controversial and the most contentious. Number two, I think it also shows us once again that he is ready and even eager to shatter, the most deeply held values, the most sacred values that Americans hold. He's ready to shatter all of those norms. And he's doing it in a way that is, not only sort of logically incoherent. I mean, if this is about terrorism and security, if you do believe that these sorts of blanket bans are effective in that regard, why these 7 countries? Why are none of the countries that the 9/11 hijackers came from included on this list, if it is indeed about terrorism? And also, I think the other hallmark of Trump that this carries is that it's been done in a way that maximizes chaos and confusion. Even if you thought it was a good idea to implement a decision like this, why would you make it effective so quickly to the point where it's impacting, people who are already in the air, people who are landing at airports with very little clear guidance given to the immigration officials who have to implement it. So I think that Trump is really starting as he means to go on. He's taking on every sort of value in the book. This cuts to the core of America's identity, both its self-image and the image that it has propagated so long of itself in the world, which is that we are a nation of immigrants and we are a place where people from around the world can come together and claim an identity as Americans. He's calling that very much into question now. And it's bitterly divisive, not only globally, but in terms of how it's being received by Americans.
Beth, we've heard a lot of word from Democrats, clearly up in a lot of anger, a lot of frustration being expressed. We heard from Senator Tim Kaine, who was Hillary Clinton's running mate. He effectively saying that he believes that this is deplorable. But we're not hearing so much from the upper echelons of the Republican Party. We are hearing from some pockets, but not the most senior members of the party. A lot of people calling it unconstitutional. Are we likely to hear more from the upper echelons of the Republican Party in the coming days?
I think you've put your finger on another very important feature of the Trump rise and the Trump phenomenon, which is that the hierarchy of the Republican Party is prepared to be silent and let him do whatever he may, including many actions that go against their professed values. I think when he originally talked during the campaign about a Muslim ban, we heard Paul Ryan, we heard Mitch McConnell, other elected Republican leaders say, that is contrary to American values. They are being quiet now, and in fact, Paul Ryan has even endorsed this move. Another thing that's sort of a hallmark of the way that Trump operates is that there's always enough ambiguity and confusion about a policy that people can sort of interpret it how they like. This is not, overtly in name a Muslim ban, although it has, it does discriminate based on religion, and it has a very heavily religious cast in terms of the list of countries that he's chosen. But there's enough wiggle room there that Paul Ryan was able to say it's not a Muslim ban. I think that the Republican Party is getting a lot of what it wants from Trump in terms of policy, whether that be some of their, dearly held priorities like cutting taxes on the wealthy, reversing President Obama's health care initiative, and other sorts of, domestic items on their domestic agenda. In return for that, it appears that they are willing, they have shown themselves to be, even in the face of this very provocative policy, to remain quiet and indeed give it their imprimatur and allow it to go forward. I think another important question in terms of who speaks out is going to be how foreign governments respond to this policy. We saw some pretty tepid words from Theresa May late last night, slightly stronger words from some of her ministers this morning on the Sunday shows. How is this going to play at that upcoming state visit? That seems to be getting increasingly uncomfortable. And I wonder how quickly Theresa May may come to regret the photo of herself holding hands with Donald Trump in Washington at the White House just a couple of days ago. So it's not just the hierarchy of the Republican Party who's chosen to sort of stay silent and let this policy go forward. I think, there are questions about how allies are going to respond. And it's not just this policy. Of course, we can expect that there's much more to come.
OK, Beth, many thanks indeed. Just some breaking news coming in to us earlier. I was telling you a little bit about that, a petition calling for Donald Trump's state visit to the United Kingdom to be cancelled. Last time I mentioned it,